I am the Don.
Mouse?
Call up the phone. Yeah. Call in the phone. Yo, who's this?
It's my ex-girlfriend.
But they
She's
give
really-
her... What?
She's really pissed
At me?
because I'm really smelly. Because I'm in the skunk gang. Everybody knows that thing. The thing about skunks is we stinky. Stinky bobinky.
Stinky Bobby.
Pull up in the club, I'm wearing pinky rings.
Pinky rings on the club. Stinky, pinky, tinky, pinky.
Pinky rings in the club. Everybody knows that I'm pinky ring in the club. Anyways, we're out here in the park. Something
smell
smells putrid right now.
Welcome to the Skunk Take podcast.
Run the intro. All right, welcome back to the Skunk Take podcast. Today we are in a park. We can't disclose what location. Don't want to dox ourselves, but we got a new topic, got a new viewer question. As you all know, this show is all about answering viewer questions. So let's get that up and let's hear what our one of our biggest supporters, Alex, has to say. Let's hear it out.
People who commit a crime overseas, like Brittany Griner, are allowed to come home, or what?
So I don't know if you know about the Brittany Griner situation.
No, I've no idea.
So pretty much she is a WNBA player and she has been detained by Russian authorities because she was caught with vape cartridges that had cannabis in them.
Wait, when was this?
This was maybe a month or two ago.
What's she doing in Russia?
She's playing, she plays basketball in the off season in Russia.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So she is potentially going to get 10 years of prison time for bringing in these cannabis vape cartridges. And I think Russia offered a prisoner swap, but it was very unreasonable. It was, I think it was Brittany Griner for 2 Russian spies. So obviously that's not going to happen. But back to our question, with her situation, do you think that she should be, do you think that America should try and bring her back home? Do you think other countries should try and bring citizens back who have committed crimes?
I don't know. I think before you enter a country, you're better off like knowing the laws, right? Especially if you go to like a place like Singapore, right?
Yeah.
It's like they got some, laws you may not always encounter in every other, country you go to. Like the whole chewing gum thing, right? Like
Yeah, exactly.
you just can't have chewing gum at all. Like they'll check your bags for chewing gum.
Yeah, littering is highly illegal.
Smoking, there's designated smoking areas, and it's just punishable by fines and stuff like that. But I think you should be aware of a country's laws prior to, stepping foot in that country. So.
Now I'll play devil's advocate a little bit. What if it was an accident or a mistake? Like in her case, it kind of seems like it might have been an accident. You bring vape cartridges in, you might not know that or remember that they have cannabis or weed in them.
I don't know about that. I think that's a little bit ignorant thinking in that sense. Like, I definitely think investigations should be done in regards to like framing. Like if someone's framed, because like I don't know if you've seen like videos on how they used to like smuggle drugs into countries.
Yeah.
But what they used to do is like they'd have like an completely unsuspecting mule, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you used to like at airports put it into their baggage,
Right.
and they'd take the description of the person, and then there'd be someone waiting on the other side when they touch down,
Yeah.
and then they'd steal their bag, right? Full of product, right?
Yeah.
So like unless it's that scenario, I think it'd be ignorant to say like, oh well, I didn't know there was weed in there. It's like you're smoking this shit. Like, come on.
But do you think it's a country's responsibility to protect their citizens from like, overly harsh punishment?
I think
what she's facing, like 10 years in prison. Like, and Russian prisons are no joke either.
I think they should definitely try and like, so like the home country should definitely try and help help out, someone
Right.
that's kind of, facing an issue with the law in another country.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way that, like, when you go to visit another country, like, you don't really pay taxes there. Like, you're just kind of a visitor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't,
Right.
like, you don't live there, right? So
She does work there, though. She was going to Russia to play professional
Oh, okay.
basketball. And I believe, I don't know the exact number of years, but I believe she's been doing that for the past 8 to 12 years.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like it's her first time
Well, yeah.
going to
Okay.
Russia.
Well, then in that sense, I reckon she's fucked up pretty bad.
But do you think
I probably wouldn't say, the United States should get really involved in that. As cruel as that, like, you'd hate to be in her position,
Right.
right? But as hard as that is, it's like, well, you've been here for 12 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, you haven't done something like this before, but like,
So she's been going back and forth
like,
between America.
yeah,
and
like
Russia.
you're aware of,
I feel like bringing drugs onto a.
it's pretty stupid in the first place, right?
It's pretty like you just wouldn't do that crossing any border.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
100%. So yeah, I don't think they should really help her out, but there is cases where like,
Help is required.
yeah, or like,
But how do we differentiate between that? Like, there's no like guideline of oh yeah, this crime will help people with this crime we won't, or with this crime will help this much.
I think minor offenses are like, I deem minor offenses like, worthy of being helped by the home country, right? So you look at like ASAP Rocky, right? You remember when he was like in, I can't remember if he was in France or like
Yeah, right.
London or something, and then Donald Trump was about he started posting on Twitter like, we're going to get ASAP Rocky out of there, because he got into like an altercation, he got into some like fight with someone,
Oh really?
and then the authorities wanted to like full detain him and like, lock him up, and I think they actually may have done that, but Donald Trump full stepped in and he's like, yo, bring out my boy ASAP, save it, free ASAP.
Well, there's this other question then that I have for you, with like that WNBA player and ASAP Rocky. Should we be giving precedent, or not precedent, but like, should we be giving priority to celebrities or people who are like famous or rich over like the normal person who's committed a crime and is stuck in like a, Spanish jail or something like that?
No, I don't think so. I think if you're doing the wrong thing, it kind of transfers over to everyone, right? Like if you're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, but I mean, we see, maybe it's just because that's the only stuff that's publicized, but we see a lot of celebrities kind of get off with, I mean, that's in general, they get off with a lot of stuff compared to the normal person. But
Yeah, 100%.
With like, international politics and stuff like that, do you think that that's something that should be happening?
They should be getting away with shit.
Not getting away with it, but like getting treated with a
bit fair.
higher priority.
Well, yeah, because they're like, if you're a celebrity, you obviously hold some value to, like, you've worked to get to a position where you're like considered a
Like
valuable
known
figure.
person.
Yeah. Like, I'm not to discredit that in any way, but like I'm sure you could, if you were like a celebrity and you were rich as hell, I'm sure you could find ways to do it, like, or like, let's just use drugs for example. I'm sure you could find a hookup in wherever the place you're going and set that up prior to you even getting there. You know what I mean? But like, if you do go down the route of like doing something bad, it's like, all right, well, you're setting yourself up, like you're pushing your luck.
But what if let's change the situation. What if I accidentally was caught overseas doing something and I was put in jail, even though I'm not a celebrity? Would you think that, he needs to be treated with priority and we need to get him out of there?
I think the importance of that question is like, if you got caught doing something, right? Because it's like, was it deliberate or was it ignorance? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if it's like a setup, like I was saying before, like if it's like a setup, then like I'd probably urge your home country to like initiate a deep investigation of what happened, right? But if you actually did it, then I reckon you deserve to take that
The consequence.
the consequences of that country. Maybe lessened, because like I said, if you're visiting somewhere, like you're not a permanent resident.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Every other law, like it applies to you, but like,
I agree in some way. Like, and to answer the original question, I think that America, or like any country that has a citizen who's like been detained overseas. Any country should help, right? They should give a helping hand regardless of the situation, especially if that country is known to have like a bad record of like treatment of prisoners and that kind of thing. But ultimately they do have to live, the person who committed the crime does have to live with whatever they've done. The consequence. And like that's still within reason because, you know, every country has their own laws. If I go to, you know, a country and like Singapore and just start like littering everywhere and chewing gum and throwing it on the streets, I might not think it's that bad, but like I'm a guest in the country and I need to respect their rules and their
100%
their laws. So like I can't, and I think it's unreasonable for people to assume like, oh, we need everyone to fit with the Western society's laws and values and culture, because that's just not the case. It's for centuries, different places around the world have different cultures. We can't just assume like, oh, we're all on the internet and blah, 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 that we should all have the exact same values. Like I'm seeing like a lot of discussion with FIFA and the World Cup coming up about how it's being held in Qatar right now. I don't know if it's a great decision because it's really, really hot there. And, you know, people will probably collapse from heat stroke. But they have a lot of, like, very traditional laws. I know that, like, you know, obviously, like, the whole LGBTQ thing, the drinking. I don't know if drinking's allowed, like, in public there. Like, non-married couples. There's, like, there's, like, very strict boundaries and stuff with non-married couples there as well. But like that being said, do I think it's unfair for them to impose their laws on their own sovereign territory? I don't think it's unfair.
No, I agree. They're completely within their rights to do that.
Exactly. And like, do I think it's right that all this stuff is being restricted? Like, if it was Australia, no, but it's not. It's not Australia.
Yeah.
And people are going to the World Cup. If you are going to watch your country play, like, you have to
abide by
accept the rules and
the rules of the land. Yeah.
So I think that by extension to like prisoners in general, there is a little bit of caution that you have to take. Like you can't just travel somewhere and do zero research. Like we went to Singapore recently, and one of the first things that we did was we looked up the local laws. Yeah. Like I don't know that not everyone's doing that. We're just skunky, but
we skunky as hell.
But that's just something that I think is a reasonable thing to do.
Yeah, 100%. Because you're going into this foreign place, you're like, all right, well, I don't know how they operate there, but I know how we operate here. It may not be the same, so I'm just gonna make sure that we're all good. Everyone's all doing the right thing.
Yeah, and the whole like Brittany Griner situation. She's from America, right? And weed isn't even legal in every state. So she should know, just even crossing state lines.
Yeah, true.
That she might get in trouble for carrying.
But then
like
that's
an illegal substance.
That's another thing, right? If someone were to get done over an international drug charge, right?
Yeah.
Do you think there should be consideration depending on like where they come from? So, for example, if she was from like California, right, where it's like, is it legal? It's legalized in California.
Yeah, weed is legal.
So if they were flying from California and they just happen to have some on them and they're like, oh, like I completely forgot about this. I do have this, but I completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
It's normal where I'm from.
Yeah.
Do you think that should be taken into consideration with the countries they're visiting if they were to pull them up for it?
I mean, I had this discussion the other day and I got my mind changed. Like at first I was thinking like, look, you need to do your due diligence and search for this stuff. But like, part of me also now thinks that accidents can happen. I'm one of those people who leaves stuff to like the last millisecond, like packing stuff, preparing for stuff. Not everything, but like a lot of like, if I'm doing something for myself, I'll leave it to the last second. If I have to go like chill with my mates, I'll stay back, do work until the very last second of when I have to leave, and then I'll go chill with the boys. But So I get it. Like if I'm rushing to go on a holiday because I've been working or whatever and I haven't packed properly, then I think that that's a consideration. And I think that it depends on the court of justice that they have there, like whether or not they consider the intent of bringing the drug in. You know what I mean? Like, because you can get caught. Like, you know, it's even like when people get caught in Australia and in public at any place, you get caught for either possession or you can get caught for like trying to distribute the drugs. And and those are two different charges and consequences. And I think that is something that
should be considered.
Considered, yeah.
100%.
So
yeah, like if it's under like a certain amount, like under a certain volume, it's pretty obvious you're not there to distribute it or whatever.
yeah, but at the same time, you know, just because you're from a certain place doesn't, I don't know, like it doesn't really mean that we just like let it go so easily.
Because you still be more inclined to say, yeah, it's kind of ignorant to.
What if I'm from Colombia and I just had some cocaine in my bag or something like that, and I come to Australia, like I would.
Funny of you to link Colombia with cocaine.
I mean, I don't know.
I think they are the largest producer of.
Yeah,
I think so.
No,
I could. I do not.
No idea.
Dabble in that. In such substances. However, based on a guess, I'd probably say yeah.
Yeah, just from watching Narcos and stuff like that on Netflix.
Legit.
Like that, I don't think if someone came to Australia with that kind of stuff from Colombia, they'd get ruined.
They would get destroyed.
They're going to jail.
Yeah. I just forgot I had this.
They're not going to care. Yeah, exactly. And I like it's just hard of where to draw the line because like the way we perceive things, and this is like a cultural thing too. Like different cultures perceive different things as, and we see that with our parents also as well. Like they will see certain things that we do as like super irregular, and they have like a different set of expectations. Like even like in like Asian culture, like you got to treat old people with like respect and authority and like, you know, kind of like almost bow down to them in a way. Whereas like in Western society, like that is not really a thing. You know what I mean? Like that's their expectation. And same with like other countries, they have certain expectations or like they value different things at different levels. Like alcohol is illegal in a bunch of countries, but in most of the world it is legal, and it's like a social drink that people have. Same with weed. Some countries think it's like totally fine, whereas others aren't. And I think if you're traveling, that's just something you need to be conscious of.
Like you said, do due diligence.
Yeah, exactly.
And make sure you have an understanding. Don't be ignorant. Make sure you have an understanding of it and go for it.
Yeah, I think it's probably her fault for bringing the cartridges in. Should America help? Sure. But should they do a prisoner swap to swap two spies for a WNBA player? I don't think that they should. Just because she's a person of like, that's like a celebrity of like, you know, who's well known, doesn't mean we should make like an unreasonable deal. Like these spies could be...
They could have some info.
Exactly. They could have info. They could have committed...
Because they're valuable enough to...
Keep as prisoners.
Yeah, keep as prisoners, but for Russia to want them back.
Yeah. And who knows like what they've done. Like I don't know what the details of what those prisoners have done. Like they could have committed violent crimes or something like that. And like that's just not worth swapping for a you know, any civilian who's just
entertains.
Or just any civilian who's just like made a mistake.
Yeah, I agree.
But like, there's this story like, there's a story about this guy who went to North Korea. I think his name was Otto Wambia.
Okay,
and he was studying. I believe he was studying in China, and it was like, you know, uni break, and he went to North Korea for a holiday. I don't know why he'd do that, but he went on a tour.
Yeah, because that's how they do it, right? It's tour only, isn't it?
Exactly. You can't really explore.
Yeah.
But it's very strict the way that they operate the tour. Like, it's very routine. They try and keep track of everything. They do have cameras in a lot of locations.
They have microphones and cameras, don't they? In like in hotel rooms. Or like bugged. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, he goes to North Korea for his uni break. From, you know, the pictures and stuff that, that were published from the trip, seems like, it was like a decent time. But what he did on the last day was they were in this hotel complex, and the hotel was obviously only for foreigners, and there was a lot of like security there, obviously, because they like we just said, they bug everything and they watch everything. Anyways, he wanted a souvenir, so he tried to steal one of the signs in the hotel. So I don't remember exactly what sign, but it might have been a sign like above one of the doorways. So he grabs that and he tries to steal it. And then the next day they detain him, and they detain him for years, right? And like, yeah, he's like for stealing a sign, and he's on the stand and he's like begging for mercy, and he's like, I didn't realize it would be such a big thing. Like, Come on, bro. Yeah, and then the American government, I don't know how many years have passed. I believe it was 2 to 5 years. So he was there for a while. They finally decided to do a prisoner swap, to get him back. And I don't know who they swapped. I don't know the caliber of like criminal, but it was most likely some sort of spy, because I don't know any North Koreans who come to who go to America. But when he arrived back, he was like pretty much paralyzed. What they had done, or allegedly what they had done, was they had injected him with poison, like a parasite. And that parasite like pretty much put him in like a comatose state. Yeah. So I don't think he was responsive or anything like that. Like they had to they flew him back on like a private jet because he was bedridden. They thought he was just ill. Wow. I think that, I believe the situation was he was feeling okay, and then he started getting more and more ill as the day of the flight came.
Wow. Did he get the sign at least?
Sorry?
Did he get the sign?
He didn't get the sign. He didn't get the sign. But anyways, it's kind of sad. But he passed away.
Oh, shit, that's sad.
Yeah.
Now I feel bad about the sign joke.
Didn't get the sign. He passed away, I think, a few months after he got back, just from the symptoms.
Illness
like the parasite or whatever they injected him with. And like that's something that I was thinking about a lot with this situation, because like this whole conversation, like, okay, her situation isn't that crazy, but like with his situation, what he did was way less than what she did, and he faced like insane consequences.
But it just goes back to what you were saying about different countries holding value to different things.
Yeah.
Like stealing, especially a foreigner stealing in your country. For North Korea, that's like, bro, like no one, like, why would you do that?
I think it was like a very like foolish and like ignorant.
Yeah, that was, I mean, I hate to say he had it coming to him, but you poke the bull, you get the horns, right? Like,
yeah, I don't think the punishment was proportional.
No, not even
at all,
close.
But
bro stole a sign.
But it's just like, it's just like with anything. Like if you know or like have a rough idea, it's not like he just flew straight into North Korea. He was in China. Like China has like not similar laws, but like they do punish stuff to a similar extent when you commit certain crimes. And yeah, so I don't know if what happened to him was fair from the North Korean point of view, because to them, they're probably like treated it as the ultimate disrespect. And that's why they reacted so harshly.
They did, yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's fair for them to enact that and not like see the fact that people can commit mistakes, but they are a pretty unique situation, like a dictatorship.
Yeah. That got me thinking just before. Like, do you reckon the country's punishment is dependent on the country that the alleged offender is coming from? Right. So if like, let's just say like America and Russia beefing, right?
Yeah.
Or they're not really, they're not best buddies.
Yeah.
So to say. Do you reckon that kind of inclines some countries to be like, yeah,
react more harshly?
Yeah,
No, 100%. It's like it's most definitely like a political tool. Like, wouldn't you?
Yeah, true.
Like, if you were Russia and you're like, oh, America's been disrespecting me, and they're pretty much supporting one of my enemies in a war. Wouldn't you just be like pretty petty about it?
Yeah, I think so.
To answer the original question of whether or not like someone like Brittany Griner should be allowed out, I think in her specific situation, personally, I think that the government should try and negotiate, but at the same time, for Russia, it is wartime to them, and Ukraine, and by extension, America, is their enemy. So it would be like very difficult to get a fair deal to get her out. And I think that you need to consider the pros and cons on like the international, like the widest view that you can. If you let go of 2 spies or whatever that they want in return, that is a much larger negative, especially during, times of tension like right now. That's like a very bad precedent to set. And if you think America is going to do this every time, if you think that once America does this, Russia is not going to take advantage of this to get. If you think that Russia's not going to arrest every single person or celebrity that comes into Russia from America, and use them to swap for their spies and whoever else, you're like super naive, because Russia will use that as like a precedent, and they're like, okay, if America blinks here, we're gonna like
call them out.
We're gonna arrest everyone.
Yeah.
Every citizen, every like diplomat in Russia who is American, they're getting arrested.
Yeah.
And we're going to get all of our boys back. That's literally what's going to happen. So unfortunately, you can ask to get her out just based on that individual situation. But in the grand scheme of things,
don't do it.
They shouldn't.
Yeah.
It's
because, like I said, it's like ignorance, right? Like, you know the country, bro. Like, you've been there for 12 years. And you haven't fucked up in 12 years, and now you fuck up. Like,
and you also know that Russia is
literally in a time of
in a war right now.
So, I agree with you. I think you summarized it pretty well.
So sorry, Brittany Griner fans.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone would listen to this, but
I don't even know.
Sorry, we're not letting her out. I mean, no, not us, but like Russia, I suppose.
Yeah, we don't have any say in this.
Anyways, that's the end of the podcast.
Right, end of the podcast.
Like, follow, subscribe, all that kind of.
And stay stinky.
Stay stinky.